Alright friends, welcome back. We're here with round 5, the final round of Swiss. We have a team battle here. I'm joined by Gene Holland, fellow Blue Ella Melbourne Blaster. How you going, Gene?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well.
Unfortunately, you're here in the booth rather than at a table.
Yes, 2-2 drop for me today.
That's okay.
Trying to defend my crown from last year, but
Oh, you
no
won
good.
Moxing Day
No,
last year, did you?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, we can't win them all.
No,
But, wow, I've been given a second bag of chips.
unless you Juzzer at
Three-
nationals.
You've got a bag of chips as well? What?
Oh, I don't think this is mine.
I'm just
Might be-
feasting on chips. Alright, let's get down
might
to
be
the
mine
table,
now.
eh?
Just eat them, please.
Alright, so down here to the table. That's not the right decks. We don't know what they're playing yet. I mean, we might know what they're playing, but, you know, we'll find out when we find out, hey? So two other Blue Ella Melbourne Blasters.
Got a team battle.
Really, Gene's right here. Really rolls off the tongue, the team name, the Blue Ella Melbourne Blasters. You can
Oh,
see
yes.
the
Well,
blue
we've got,
tie-dye shirts.
Paul playing now, and he is the architect behind that wonderful team name.
I think he's the architect behind the shirts as well.
Yeah, yeah, he is.
It's either him or Tom. So these guys are both X11, 211 and 31, I believe. They're both playing for a spot in the top 8. This is the final round of Swiss. After this, there will be the top 8 playing off for an Underground Sea and Oodles of Store Credit as well. Exciting stuff. Let's. I actually don't know what either person is playing here today.
Right. I believe that Richard is on. Oh, I think he's on Grixis Oracle,
Okay.
and I think Paul is on a Grixis Tempo, but I could be wrong. Richard may be on a Bug Oracle. I can't remember. I think he's on Oracle of some kind.
So I don't know what that card that Richard led off with there is.
It's like a portent.
Okay, sure. That's an alternate art portent of some sort. And Paul just going whole hog on his life total here. Mental misstep into Fetchland Thoughtseize.
Very much down to the
So
old 15 turn 1.
yeah, we'll get the information straight away though. We get to see Richard's hand having a Forest, a Narset, Tainted Pact, and Jace Vryn's Prodigy. So we can plug in his deck here as Bug Oracle. Don't have great information on Paul yet, but something with the Underground Sea. I mean, actually, I don't know if we've seen a deck today without it. Round two, we had some rug decks, and of course Gene, when Gene was on coverage. Deciding to take the Narset there. Doesn't care too much for the Tainted Pact. So Richard, pretty clear turn here, unless something else has come out. Just get this Jace Vryn's Prodigy in play. See if you can dig your way out of the mulligan. You know, find yourself the extra land, and perhaps show up as a way to recur Tainted Pact and assemble a combination.
Yeah, Paul's on a tempo deck. I played against him a couple of times. It's maybe a touch slower than some of the rug decks.
Is that a Baleful Strix?
Looks like a Baleful Strix, Secret Lair.
God, all these alternate arts, I can't keep up.
Maybe it's not slower than some of the rug tempo decks. It just plays a little bit more in a Grixis fashion sometimes.
Yeah, that's
Being
fair
a
enough.
Grixis. Although we have a Bayou there, so he's either splashing it for Death Right or changed his list.
Alright, I found the bird artwork. I don't like it. I want him to go back to real Baleful Strixes, please.
It doesn't look enough like an artifact creature, does it?
Right, it's just a creature. It's definitely a bird. But it is what it is. Nothing we can do sometimes. Players choose to play the wrong artwork, that's on them. On to Richard's turn. He's drawn a Ponder, which is a fine way to get rid of these mulligan woes that he's on. He was on a mulligan to 6 and then got Thoughtseized. I can't see anything. Hope that helps. Is that a polluted delta, perhaps? Well, whatever it was, he's not satisfied with it, going for the shuffle. Maybe looking for a card advantage spell to keep up in cards against this opponent who's played a Baleful Strix. Have to see what the top of the deck gives him. That's an Abrupt Decay. I mean, great card in its own right, but not what you want against a Baleful Strix. Paul,
Paul.
trying to go for the block there on the Jace Vryn's Prodigy activation.
I would say he's only doing it for the camera, but no, I feel like Paul would do it. Paul would just do that.
Absolutely, he would. I think I've got him on one life lower than the table has him. Looks like he's just not keeping the big die up to date, but you get that. I can assure you that his notepad is probably correct in the meantime. Going down to 11 here, fetching a Watery Grave. Could this be the end of game 1? Is this tap 2 lands, cast a Merfolk? No, he's just casting Glare. Alright, that looks like maybe a Narset Parter of Veils. Judging by the game actions taken.
Yeah, pretty good card against most combo decks.
Yeah. Good against the Jace Vryn's Prodigy here as well. Turns
Very
off its ability to main phase dig its way out.
Yeah.
Of course, Richard can activate it on his opponent's turn to still get the looting effect. But then you miss out on activating the Planeswalker on your own turn. So a bit of give and take. Narset also replacing itself. Did you see what it replaced itself with? I missed it.
I didn't see it.
That's okay. I'm sure we will find out at some point. Richard still holding this Abrupt Decay. There we go. Abrupt Decay coming down.
Narset.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Especially, now getting to transform the Jace, get that final loot in, and get the Planeswalker rolling. Maybe flashing back that Ponder next turn.
I think Richard really needs another land here. Hopefully for him, he has one.
It's a bit of a pickle. It really is. Let's see if we can get Jace on the screen here, on the back side of the card, so we can see what the card does. 5 loyalty. It's going to tick up and shrink that there Baleful Strix.
So Richard's missed his third land.
Again, not where we want to be, because Richard was on the play here. Paul going down to 9 with the Gataxian Probe. We see a hand of Traverse the Ulvenwald. Is that... I want to say it's as foretold, but it's definitely not.
I think that's a Spell Pierce, maybe.
I see. Alright. Could be. Could well be. That would make sense. It's much more reasonable card to play than as foretold. And what's the follow-up? Is it a Brainstorm? Okay. There's just a spot of glare on the screen there that we didn't have before, but now we do, which is a little bit annoying.
Double Masters, full art Brainstorm.
Alright. Yeah, these alternate arts really just get the better of me sometimes.
Yeah.
In Paul's hand we can see a Spell Snare, an Evasive Action, perhaps a Vendilion Click.
That's a Vendilion Click, yeah.
So, very powerful hand here. He's up on cards, he's up on lands. Down on Planeswalkers, but that's about the only metric we could call. Let's see what Richard can do to dig out of this hole. Something like a Treasure Cruise or a Dig Through Time. Oh, perhaps not Dig Through Time.
Cruise would be excellent.
This Jace Vryn's Prodigy can
Looks
also...
like he might have found a Bloodstain Miner.
Okay, well that's positive, That's another step towards playing Magic. It's also notably, the snow-covered forest that's in play. Yeah, it's a land, but it doesn't contribute to the combination at all. You can't use it to cast Thassa's Oracle or Demonic Consultation. You could use it to cast, say, an Arkham's Astrolabe to fix its own problem, but that's neither here nor there. So, Richard having a think. Trying to figure out what to do with his mana. Perhaps we're thinking whether to tick down the Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Can recast the Ponder from the graveyard. Or the Fatal Push, but that would be a bit strange. Or whatever the first spell he cast was. Was it a Portent, I think you said?
Portent, yeah.
So it does decide to tick it down. And
Ponder here. Seems good.
Ponder feels right to me.
Ponder, draw the best card, then you can shuffle with the fetch land.
Not playing the land first. We're getting some slow-mo footage here. Now, I guess the other thing to consider would be ticking down the Jace means you might not have the ability to. You could set up a line where you go end of turn Tainted Pact, find Thassa's Oracle, untap, cast Thassa's Oracle, tick down Jason Tainted Pact and kill them that way.
That is a very That's
So
if you don't think that Paul's got a handful of interaction, that would be probably the way to go. But well, we can see that Paul's got a few.
yeah,
Got a few goodies.
that's right. Ticking down the Jace, removes that line, but also the rest of Paul's hand just kind of says no. Paul's got a firm grasp on this game. He's well ahead on board and on cards. Just needs to find a way to convert this convert this board state into a victory.
Yes, Richard happy to pay 2 life here. Doesn't feel like he's getting killed too quickly.
Yeah, Watery Graves on both sides of the board here, and that's a Traverse the Ulvenwald with Delirium, land, instant, Planeswalker, and presumably a sorcery in that whatever the first card was.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that can go get
There's the Oracle.
any creature or land. And yeah, deciding on Oracle. So the full combo is in Richard's hand now. He's got the Oracle, he's got the Tainted Pact, just needs a 4th land.
I think we're going to see a Vendilion click here from Paul.
Very much so, stopping all the fun before it even starts. And that Vendilion click actually means the end of the Jace Telepath Unbound if it resolves.
It does, yep. And Richard, if in fact Spell Pierce was that card in his hand, he's going to be sad.
Yeah, Spell Pierce doesn't have the ability to counter the Vendilion click. I tell you what, we're going to have to see what we can do about this glare, perhaps shifting it into a different position. The Thassa's Oracle going away. Its face turned up very, very briefly, but now it's on the bottom of the deck. That is a Spell Pierce in hand, we can confirm that now, so that's good at least. And here we see the attack comes in, Jace Prince Prodigy going down, Richard losing a single life here, 15 plays 8.
We'd have to say that Paul's on bug by the looks of it.
Yeah, I guess I could plug that in now as well. Bug something. Mid-range question mark. It could be a mirror match. This could be,
Well be.
a bug mirror. We don't know yet. Haven't seen pointed cards, or enough pointed cards to know. That looks like perhaps a ponder from the game actions that we're taking here. I think I saw a Gifts Ungiven in those 3 cards. We see Force of Will.
Yeah, Force of Will.
Mental
Looks like
Note.
a mental note. I think Paul's been sitting on that mental note for a little while, or maybe it was evasive action we had before.
Just better things to do with the mana, I suppose. Him to Turak coming down here. They're gonna play some dice games for a while. There we go. Tainted Pact, Spell Pierce, both down. Okay. And if you're Richard, you got to consider that this might be worth moving to the next game here.
Yeah.
Your Oracle's on the bottom. Your Tainted Pact is now gone. There's 4 power in place, so it is still a 4-turn clock. But your opponent's...
Any reason you think Richard didn't Spell Pierce the him to Turak bit?
Oh, hold up. Thassa's Oracle is the bottom card of the library here.
Ooh.
Consultation naming Thassa's Oracle will exile the entire deck. Thassa's Oracle getting cast and Force of Willed. Wow, that was a swift end to that game. Let's bring it back into the booth here. Gene, talk to us, mate. What happened? What was the key points in that game? Where do you think it was won and lost for each side?
Well, Richard missing his 3rd land drop. I mean, that's never good. The Vendilion click seemed pretty clutch there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Separating the combo, not being able to be interacted with.
Mm.
Richard almost pulled it out of the hat there with the demonic consultation. Was that off the top of the deck?
Yeah, that must have been either from the Vendilion click draw or from the draw step for turn.
Yeah,
but
so that might, if he drew it then, maybe that's why he didn't.
Wow.
You still wonder why he didn't Spell Pierce to him to right there. But anyway, it wouldn't have mattered. Because the Force.
Yeah, very true. There was a force. There was a snare as well, I want to say. I think I saw one on a previous turn. Let's jump back down to the table and see what the action's like. So what are we expecting to see from sideboarding here?
Well, knowing Richard's, when he plays Storm, he likes to bring in a creature package.
Mm-hmm.
Often when he thinks the combo is not too favourable. I don't know what exactly he's on with his Oracle build. I've only really ever seen Richard play Storm or Tempo or Blue-Black Tempo before.
Yeah, Richard, a very, very storied Storm pilot, has played it forever, basically. He had a brief stint with Blue-Black Tempo, as you mentioned, a bit of Death Shadow. but he's decided that with the advent of Oracle, Storm is just too slow and not interactive enough. The problem he found was that all of these cards that interact with him sit on the board. These cards like Leovold, like Narset, like Ashiok Dreamrender, they're not one-shots that you can, have your opponent cast them and then they go away. So after that, and with the speed of the Oracle deck, even with 3 points on Oracle itself, he's very happy to just move from Storm to whatever the current combo deck is, being Oracle.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a sort of deck that you can play a bit of a tempo game, or if you want, and then you can just win with the combo if you have it.
I think he might be trying to blindside Paul a bit here. I think I might have seen some red blasts get sideboarded in there. And that would be very cheeky if that's true.
So I don't think we've seen a red source from Richard yet
To
this point.
Yeah, not even a Deathrite Shaman. Because Deathrite Shaman always sort of sneaks in the door as a surprise red source. I've definitely used it to cast engineered explosives higher than my opponent expected.
Yes.
But that could be a cool one. I think both players have boarded in Submerge here.
Yeah, Submerge is a card that you sometimes want to avoid playing a forest on your opponent. You suspect your opponent may have a Submerge, or the only thing that could save them is Submerge.
Funny story, actually. A few weeks ago, Isaac's playing on Moto against Paul, and boards in Submerge against a Grixis deck. No forest, no nothing, just didn't consider it. And he ends up just casting it for 5 mana and winning the game that way. Submerge, of course, it's played for its free cast ability. The fact that in the most relevant matchups, your opponent's going to have a forest, and that means that you don't have to pay any mana for it. But even at 5 mana, the effect is sometimes good enough. It is an instant, which is pretty sweet. And when the options are pay 5 mana for it or have it rot in your hand, you've got to do what you got to do.
You're gonna cast it, aren't you? Yeah.
All right, so Richard on the play here. Was Richard on the play in the last game as well?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think he went for the turn 1 Portent.
Portent countered.
And then the Thoughtseize came out as well. That's right.
Very aggressive to counter a Portent.
Yeah, I mean,
turn 1.
Perhaps it was the mulligan to 6 plus Thoughtseize.
Yeah, you can really do some damage there.
Yeah, just wanted to leave Richard with exactly those 6 and nothing else.
Yeah.
Or those 5 after the Thoughtseize comes down. Richard not happy with this 7 either, throwing it back.
Portent is a card that Richard loves as well.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lethal Portent before, quote unquote. A player with no cards in hand, behind on the board, and the opponent cast Portent, looked at the top 3, rearranged them, and he drew another land the next turn. It was amazing. But and apparently that wasn't the only one we've had today. There's been some other lethal portents in the room, which is interesting. It's not the main reason you play the card. You tend to play it as just Ponder 2. Because, being Singleton, you can't play 4 Ponder, 4 Brainstorm, unfortunately. God, could you imagine if you could, though?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think Portent is a very good card to play around cards like Narset, Leovold.
Sure, yeah.
Sleight of Hand and Opt are also kind of... They, unlike Ponder and Preordain and Brainstorm, they do at least play around that hate, so it makes them alright sometimes.
That's a nice key point. And as they keep printing cards like Hull Breacher...
Unfortunately, they don't work around Hull Breacher, except for Sleight of Hand. Hull Breacher's got slightly different text.
Very true, yeah. Sleight of Hand does beat it, and as well as, I guess, Peer Through Depths and Impulse.
Yeah, those type of cards, the 2
slower
mana
ones.
2 mana ones, which can, they pretty much only see playing combo builds, but I mean, certainly playable cards, and they beat the hate better.
My favourite 2 mana cantrip's got to be Strategic Planning.
Strategic Planning, it's quite a good one.
Although, is See the Truth...
I have been playing See the Truth recently in a brew, and I'm really liking it.
Does that put him in the graveyard or bottom of the library?
No, it puts him on the bottom.
Bottom of the library.
And Sorcery Anticipate.
So it's not just better than than Strategic Planning.
No. But when you draw the 3, it gets around all the hate cards.
Oh, very true. It puts them all in your hand. I mean, even front half of it does. But we see Richard here leading with the turn 1 Carpet of Flowers. We saw this in an earlier match. A very crucial mana advantage tool in these mid-range fights. Getting a mana advantage over your opponent, being able to pay for soft permission, as well as perhaps double spell a turn before your opponent, is a nice way to get ahead. And I can't see what Paul's
I think we
cast
have
there.
some kind of cantrip
Yeah,
here.
it looks like it's blue and it might say blah blah blah, draw a card.
Yes, most likely Ponder or Preordain it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this Carpet of Flowers is going to make mana for Richard from turn 2. Right now it's only going to make 1 mana, which is fine. You know, the ability to play a 3-drop on turn 2 is good, or play a 2-drop and protect it. But then if Paul follows up with another island, this Carpet of Flowers is just going to run away with the mana.
Yeah, well, we'll see how well Richard's deck and or hand can use the mana.
Yeah, Carpet of Flowers, so adding 1 mana. We'll see what comes out of that. And perhaps seeing something like an Oko, a Narset.
It was Preordain from Paul, but yes, Narset.
Parter of Veils. Alternate art from the one we saw before, but still the same card nonetheless. And it's going to get dazed.
Got a daze. Oh, Paul very behind on mana now.
You got to wonder. I guess it slows the Carpet of Flowers.
It does.
That's a triome of some
sort.
sort.
Until you play a tapped island.
That's right. Now, you've got to assume that's a blue triome of some sort. I don't know
I
which
think that's the Tima one. Ketria triome.
Ketria triome. I mean, it looks like it's red and green and blue. You're right. Let's have a look here, see if we can find the alternate artwork of that baby. Whoop, that's the wrong one. Why is there 4 different artworks of this?
Oh, there's 4 or 5 4 or 5 different versions of every card nowadays.
Yeah, that's right. And we see a Inquisition of Kozilek coming down. That actually looks like maybe it's not Ketria.
It might not be, yeah.
Maybe it's Zagoth? So Inquisition coming down. I can see Swamp, Verdant Catacombs, and Glare. Yeah, alright. So that is a Zagoth triome there. So Inquisition of Kozilek.
My mistake. We have very many Glary cards and 2 lands.
That last card looks like it could be a Snapcaster Mage. It's a creature at least. Or a Spellseeker perhaps. A Judge Spellseeker. This is a good way for Richard to sort of clear the air. See, you know, if he's holding something like an Oko, ensure that he can resolve it. And you also see there he's fetched the Volcanic Island, which is signed by Russell Alfie. I was there at the event that he won that. It was a long time ago. Inquisition taking Tireless Tracker and Search for his Canter coming down. So really just, you know, using that Inquisition to make sure that he has the room to resolve this Haymaker in Search for his Canter.
Flowers is going to do wonders for the Search for his Canter here.
Very true, yeah. I mean, Search for his Canter, a very mana-hungry card. That looks like an Ethereal Forager coming down there, as you can see by the instants and sorceries put underneath it.
May have been the creature we saw before.
Yeah, that's powerful here. If Richard doesn't have a way to remove it, it's going to accrue advantage over the next couple of turns.
Yeah, I'll need to have a read of that one again.
6 mana Delve Flying, 3/3, and when it attacks, Paul gets one of those instants or sorceries exiled underneath it back to his hand. We were talking before. We were talking in the previous round about it. How it's good with, it's not good with 4-point cards. You know, your Ancestrals and your Time Walks, because the cost of losing those from the graveyard is so high. If something like this happens, a Submerge. But you know, if you're just exiling your Dazes and your Preordains, like Paul did here, it's quite a good threat.
Fine.
And that looks like it could be a Leovold, 3 mana tapped.
Leovold.
Okay, so Search for his Canter could transform this turn if Richard decides to go in the graveyard with this card. And of course, the backside is
It'd have to be a very good card to put it in the hand. He's put them on a consultation in the graveyard.
On a consultation in the graveyard. He's moved the search down there. Looks like he's just, you know, trying to shortcut and save some time here. See the next card before he, takes the physical actions, just to, you know, rearrange your thoughts and see that you can see what you spend your time more efficiently. Search for Scanter, you mentioned before, really good with Carpet of Flowers. it's mana intensive, you know. It costs 3 mana and itself to activate, so 4 mana all up. And this carpet's making 2 mana, so... You know, as soon as Paul makes another island here...
Here's an Ethereal Forager on the other side. I've got Submerge
Alright.
and Consultation.
So I guess I'll just keep bouncing between Search for Scander and Ethereal Forager on the Gatherer here. Putting a full set of 4.
The
That's
other ones as well.
Consultation, Submerge, I think that's Drown in the Lock, and Thoughtseize? Inquisition?
Whichever one it was.
So the Drown must have been put there by the Search for Scanter. Alright, Leovold coming across for 3. Finally some red zone action here in this game too. It's been, what, like 6 turns or something like that? And finally we get an attack. It's all just posturing, you know. And Paul offering a trade there, saying, look, you can take out this Leovold, this prison piece, at the low cost of your whale.
So we're activating Search here.
Yeah, the card advantage is just going to start rolling. Search for Scanner. You know, there's not a lot of of land destruction running around right now. Field of Ruin and Ghost Quarter are not seen as much as they were, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, when you would see them all the time. I wonder why that's changed. Perhaps the importance of just playing to the board with cards like Uro and Oko has put a dent in that.
Uro is definitely a card that'll make you think twice about playing Field of Ruin when you need that.
Very true.
Coloured mana.
Now, is that Muddle the Mixture?
Might be Muddle, it looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, that definitely is. Okay. And in the draw step, we're seeing a Vendilion Click come down here. Not even in the draw step, in the upkeep.
So that's going to work well with Paul's Leovold.
Absolutely. There'll be a card drawn from the Vendilion Click, and then no replacement, no card in the draw step. It looks like Richard's just realised that then. So that one's from the Vendilion Click. Now we're in the draw step, no card drawn. And also Paul didn't play a third island. He did by way of playing a fetch land, which could turn into a Triome or a Shock land at any minute now. But as for that Carpet of Flowers in the main phase, still only making 2. Which means that Search for Scanter, it's still cheaper to activate due to the Carpet of Flowers, and you see it is being activated here, using that Carpet of Flowers. I see a Thought Scour, a Thassa's Oracle, and a Counterspell. Now, as Cantor can't take the Thassa's Oracle, right?
No, it cannot.
Only, is it non-creature or is it instant
Non-creature,
sorcery?
non-land.
Okay. Taking Counterspell. Happy to grind here. I don't know who's ahead. I guess with the Vendilion Click blocking the whale, I would put some sort of advantage towards Paul here.
Well, Richard can cast a Submerge straight away if he attacks with the Forager.
We saw that in the previous round, actually. The whale attacked, took an Abrupt Decay and took out the Baleful Strix that was in the way. So perhaps we'll see that, but I don't feel like that's a strong line, considering the Vendilion Click comes down with value.
He goes for, and Paul will draw a card. Yes.
Yeah, the Vendilion Click comes down with value in that it eats the draw step.
Yes.
Richard's still opting to do it, perhaps not seeing that the Leovold would draw a card. I certainly didn't think of it, I'll be honest. Because without that, the attack with the Ethereal Forager is +1 card. The Vendilion Click's +1 card, so that would have been a parry. Paul drew for turn. Wow, it's a Vendilion Click. Cool.
Alright, we're racing here.
Yeah, that's right. 3 damage on each side. Vendilion Click in hand, though. Vendilion Click very good at surprise, quote-unquote, swinging a race in your favour. Hey, Paul, update the other die while you're there, mate. Thank you. Did I have it right? Yes. Got him.
So Richard choosing to Thought Scour, tapping out his Counterspell mana.
That's a Veil of Summer and Fetch Land in the graveyard and a draw from Thought Scour. So Paul can go for the Vendilion Click here and eat the replacement draw from it. Richard perhaps trying to resolve the Thought Scour to draw the card. But now the Vendilion Click can come down underneath the Counterspell and still get that +1 card from the Leovold in that the Thought Scour,
Yeah.
the Thought Scour already drew a card for turn. Richard revealing Mental Misstep, Counterspell, Dark Confidant. So this is round 5 of Moxing Day 2020 Highlander, held by Tabernacle Games at Maze of Fitzroy. We had 29 players today playing this format, which is absolutely lovely. A lot of different decks in the room, to be honest. I'll be excited to see what makes the top 8. So now we're in the same situation we were before, except Richard's down another card, I think. The Thought Scour got cycled. Attack
Looks like
with
he's
Whale.
going to go for the demonic consultation here.
Okay.
Oh, he just puts it in his hand.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, the Whale wasn't doing anything sitting in play. It was going to either trade with the...
Now we're casting consultation.
It was either going to trade with the click or it was just going to eat a removal spell. So if you can cash it in for click plus consultation, I think that's fair there.
So I believe that Richard has put a Thassa's Oracle in the bottom 4 cards with the search.
That's
As
true.
counter.
The search that took the counter spell put Oracle on the bottom.
I may suspect this.
And then there's also 2 cards from Vendilion clicks that have been put on the bottom. No, only 1 actually. So, and this puts them on the bottom in any order. So it could be the second last card.
Could be.
If Richard put them on the bottom in the correct order. Let's have a look here. Wow, 1 card on the bottom. And I am going to use my magical powers. And we're going to ordain that card left in the library is...
So we've got Fluster Storm, and there was...
a flurry of activity there.
I'm actually not sure who won that, because Counterspell and Mental Misstep, does that beat Fluster for...
The bottom card
How
was
many?
the bottom, of course. So the Fluster was for just the click and the... No, sorry, not the click, the consult and the oracle.
Right.
And whatever...
So Richard had 3 mana up, so he's fine.
But how was he winning? Oh, because he had 2 devotion.
Yeah.
Right, you don't need to completely deck out for Thassa's Oracle to take the game. I just completely forgot how the card works. Look, we're going to get some clarification from the players on which one of them won that game. I mean, we'll find out by whether they're boarding, whether they're going back to the sideboard to deboard, or whether they're going, in for game 3.
I believe Richard got up there. The Fluster wasn't enough.
Well, let's pull it back to the booth.
It would certainly be the counterspell to have when your opponent has counterspells, but...
Absolutely, yeah. Flusterstorm is, one of the better counterspells to have, especially in a counter war, as you said, and in these blue mirrors where lots of people are doing lots of things at the same time. But you may be right there that it wasn't sufficient this time around. Looks like they're not reaching for deck boxes. So we are going to be continuing on for game 3. Looks like Paul considering his sideboarding, seeing if there's any changes he wanted to make for game 3. But the battle continues. Bug ? Against Bug Oracle. We still don't know whether Paul's playing Oracle or not. It could well be.
We've seen Force, and that might be the only point we've
Force.
seen.
I'd expect Ochre. I'd be shocked to not see Ochre.
Yeah.
Wow. So we saw a Rug Mirror in round 2, and we've seen a Bug Mirror in round 5. Definitely a lot of representation here of the blue-green core. With Oko, Uro, Thought Scour, that sort of pile of cards.
Yeah, Zero is really a card that you want to play blue-green for, just while it's at 0 points. It may stay at 0.
Well, I mean, that's the question, and I think that's a question that the points committee is going to have to discuss at the next update. You know, if presuming that blue-green as a core is too strong, and they determine that a point needs to be added to it, do you add that point to Uro or Oko? Because both see play hand in hand in these decks. If you add it to Oko, then Uro gets this free. Uro gets to be free rolled. And if you add it to Uro, then you've got this bloated points list.
Yeah, I like adding a point to Uro rather than a second one on Okay.
That's not saying that that's going to happen. I don't have the power to do that solo, but that's definitely a factor in the next pointing update for sure. Is if the blue green pile needs to be adjusted, where does that adjustment go? We're leading off with an Inquisition here.
I forgot you were on the committee there.
We see Dark Confidant, Uro, Spell Snare, and it looks like a Badlands in hand as well. So there is 2 red lands in Richard's deck. And the Inquisition taking the Spell Snare. What does that mean? Clearly a good 2-drop in Paul's pile somewhere. Could be a Dark Confidant, could be a Bitter Blossom. He's a big fan of that card, still stuck in 2018. Could be something as simple as a Tarmogoyf. And we see
Sometimes you just need a Tarmogoyf.
we see a Snapcaster in Richard's hand there. Carpet of Flowers. Okay. It costs no mana this turn, and is that
It is
a
Bob.
Dark Confidant? Alright. So Confidant's on both sides, perhaps? Is that what we're going to see here?
Bob Mirror.
Yes, sir. Bob Mirrors. How low can you go? That one's flipping a Jace Vryn's Prodigy, so we'll see Paul fall to 18 here. Which one's going to be better? And of course, having the Bob initiative is always nice. If you get your card first and it's a removal spell, your opponent doesn't get any cards from their Bob,
That's right. And drawing more cards is excellent with Carpet of Flowers.
Yeah, you
On
see...
the battlefield, it's only making 1 mana at this point, but
You see Carpet of Flowers
looks
on...
like an Oko to me.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, Bob is
Wow. Carpet of Flowers on Paul's side. And until he played that Watery Grave tapped there, no islands. Alright, so there's an Elk on that Dark Confidant. Just trying to maintain the Dark Confidant advantage here. The slow card advantage engine. If you can have one while your opponent doesn't, then just keeping the game going longer and longer is better for you. Of course, this Elk doesn't have the ability to pressure Oko, because no Elk does. That looks like Preordained for Richard. I want to say that's Inquisition and Tainted Pact as the 2 cards there. Tainted Pact does sit on the points list. It's not free to play.
It's not been free in the time that I've played the format.
Me neither, I think. I'm a long-time fan of this format, and I don't think I've ever seen it free.
It saw very little play for a long time, at least in Melbourne.
Look,
I think it was played
the downside of it is pretty easy to offset in Highlander, The downside of the card's traditionally that you can't use it in a deck with 4-ofs.
Yeah.
And in Highlander, outside of basic lands, that's not a factor at all. We see Inquisition coming down. Jace Vryn's Prodigy and 2 somethings on the board. We knew about the Jace Vryn's Prodigy from Dark Confidant anyway. So no information gained there at least. I wonder if Paul was supposed to attack with Dark Confidant before playing the Oko and Elking.
That's a good point. I feel like...
Just offer the
Elking might have
trade.
been.
I think if the trade happens, you're happy anyway. You've just got an uncontested Oko. Whereas, if it doesn't happen, then you're in the current position, but you've attacked for 2. There's no way you're blocking if the Elk comes in here. Looks like Daze and Scavenging Ooze, the other 2 cards in hand.
Scavenging.
So really just a battle on the board here, and there's the Carpet of Flowers. Okay. So, Paul managed to only have 1 island in play in his 3 lands, which is pretty neat at countering this Carpet of Flowers. No use for the mana this turn, he says, and that is a big flip to Dark Confidant.
Ooh. Yeah, so Paul choosing not to daze either the Inquisition or the Carpet of Flowers. I don't know how much mana he's... I don't know if he's going to be able to get to use this daze, but we'll see.
Yeah, Daze does get worse when your opponent resolves Carpet of Flowers. There's Scavenging Ooze coming down. So Carpet of Flowers made 2 mana, play Scavenging Ooze, use the floating mana to eat a creature from my graveyard and go to 14.
I wonder if his only island being a shock land had anything to do with it. You probably didn't. You certainly didn't expect to flip it forcibly.
Very true. Very true. No one ever does, though, hey? And we'll see what the Oko did there. Looks like it made an elk, perhaps. Sorry, made a...
Made a
Ooh,
food.
elked the scavenging ooze with the
Elked the
+1 counter.
scoos.
That's cheeky.
Got a 4/4. Yeah.
Yeah, my
+1
elk...
counters pretty good with elks.
My elk's bigger than yours. So when are we going to see the Oko Gavany Township deck? Perhaps I'll have to work on that, hey? Paul on 13. I think he missed the +1 life from the Scavenging Ooze, but hopefully his life pad doesn't reflect that. I think you're right here that this days is only going to get worse as this Carpenter Flower sits around, and that's an Uro.
Although Paul does only have one island.
Yeah, only the one island for Paul, but
Card we were talking about.
Uro is a big boy. It's a 6/6. It's resolved here. Richard's drawn a card. I think he's considering whether to put a land into play. Not really. You never really consider that.
Well, the only reason he could be considering it is because of Paul's Carpenter Flowers.
Very true. This looks like Submerge coming out on the Elk Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so this becomes an interesting race here with the Scavenging Ooze known on the top of the library.
So the elk may be able to kill the Oko.
It can definitely kill the Oko. It could also go face if you think you're in a position to race. You know, 3 damage from that, 2 damage from the Bob. And that looks like
force happening.
Force pitching
Force pitch
Thought
Thought
Scour. Okay, that confuses me, Gene. Maintaining days over Thought Scour.
Yeah, well,
I'm not here to say that Paul's made a mistake there, because
like it's not only. Yeah, I mean he knows about the days. So that's,
Paul is at the he's at the win-in table. He's fought hard to get here. I'm just interested to hear his rationale on pitching the Thought Scour over the days.
I think actually. I think he's happy to because Richard doesn't have Carpenter Flowers mana in his end step, so if he had Tainter Pack now, which he does, he can't cast it. So then he's got to cast the 2 spells in one turn, which is hard to do when your opponent has a daze.
Alright, so if you're Richard here, the board's definitely slipping away from you. You can't contest on the board. Do you just send the elk at the face and pray for Dark Confidant?
Oh, just about.
The opponent's on 8.
I wonder if Paul may even block.
Because, there's not much of a universe here where... It's hard to imagine a card that Richard can play here that'll deal with the Oko cleanly and not lose on the board, Land coming off the top for Dark Confidant. That's what you want to see. Especially because he missed his land drop all of these turns.
Yeah, so Paul is... I don't know that he's got many high cost cards in his deck now. Forces
Leovold, using 1 mana off a Carpenter Flowers. Of course, Carpenter Flowers can only add 1 colour of mana. So not able to add, multiple colours and get the Leovold down for free or close to it. So I would say perhaps blue mana made. In fact, from the 2 lands tapped there, it's a sure thing. And now there's another elk in the way. And here we see, exactly why I said perhaps you attack face, is that, this board's not going to get better for you.
Yeah.
I've said it in previous rounds and I'll say it again. Oko doesn't have a huge effect immediately, but it does over time have a big effect on the game.
So Richard's going for the combo.
Okay, Tainted Pact.
It's resolving.
So let's see what he decides he wants. Do we know Richard's other card in hand?
I don't think so.
Was that Dreadhorde Arcanist? Good news is we get to see exactly how red his deck is.
Dreadhorde Arcanist, yeah, good card.
Also, was it this round that we saw the Oracle combo, and Paul didn't wait to see what was in the deck? Or was that a previous round? I think it might have been this round, right?
Oh, it beats me.
Hmm.
So Richard, considering whether or not to put the gifts ungiven in his hand, he decides not to.
Yeah, I don't think you can take gifts here. You're under a lot of pressure on board, and there's still the days on the other side. So it's not like you can, spend all of your mana.
Well, that was a pretty
On
quick
it?
decision. Decided to hit the Oracle. He's got a lot of cards left in his deck still.
Yeah, gonna need to find consultation pretty quick. And here it is. Ah, that's not it. Would have been a cool cold shot, though.
So making just 1 mana. Yeah, Richard's Carpet of Flowers has not been overly impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Paul missing the 4th land multiple times certainly contributed to that, as well as the Swamp Bayou. And now the Flooded Strand, it's a second blue source if he needs it. But until he needs it, excuse me.
With the Carpet of Flowers of his own out, he may not.
And here we see Snapcaster Mage. Is this...
This looks like he's going to go for the combo here. Probably Flashback Attainer Pact. And is this where the... we don't know how much... I think Richard only has... I don't think Richard has any mana floating here, so the days is
I agree.
very relevant.
The days is live. That's going to suck, because when I ask Paul about it later, about why he exiled the Thought Scour instead of the days, he's going to say, because I won the game with it. Do we Tainted Pact for consultation? Is that the world we live in? So, I mean, next turn he has the mana to just Oracle Consult, pay for days. No, he's going past it.
I think he wants to win this turn. He wants to put he wants the bottom couple of one of the bottom couple of cards to be some kind of interaction.
I mean, he
so
does
he can counter
have
the days.
He does have
It's
3.
a red blast. He wants that card to be. I don't know.
I mean, even a land here would be fine. A land would give him the mana to pay for days. He does have 3
I think,
devotion.
Yeah, I feel like he has. Yeah, he's taken the red blast. Does he have a red mana? So he does.
He
have
does have a bad lance, yeah.
And the Carpet of
So
Flowers.
maybe he's passing this turn.
I think he. Yep, looks like he's got another turn alive.
Wow, this will be incredible if he manages to pull this one out against the Oko. And you see in both of these games the Oracle not with an empty library. One time consulting down to 3rd from the bottom, and this time down to 4th from the bottom. 3 damage there.
Hoping to get some kind of counterspell here.
Yeah.
Position.
I feel like you've got to just jam the Narset and hope for a piece of interaction, right?
Yeah, we can cast a Narset without tapping any lands.
Very true, very true. That's incredibly relevant. I'm sitting here like, wow, the Narset's just gonna, he's gonna have to use the Flooded Strand and then turn on the Carpet of Flowers. But no, playing it for free means you're entirely right. That's probably a very solid line to take. Okay, so he's using Carpet. Looks like he's gonna have 1 mana floating. Yeah, just use the tiny dice that are there. Yeah, it's not like the stream provided you with 5 different colours of dice
Into Torah.
Oh no.
Well, that's
Richard frantically searching. I mean, here's the thing. He's got 3 cards. If the Oracle doesn't bite the dust, here they are randomly determining the outcome of the game. Oh no, the Oracle!
the Oracle.
Is there...
And maybe Richard has an Unearth or
Unearth,
a
Reanimate.
in his deck.
That was... time in the round was just called there, so we are at the end of our 50 minutes. There is 5 turns left in this game after Paul passes. Wow.
Richard hasn't conceded, so we may have something.
So the good news is there's only 5 turns left in this game, regardless of time in the round. Richard's A on no life and B on no cards in hand, in library. Blocking the 4, taking 6, going down to 7 is Richard. So this game is coming to a head right here, right now. What have we got?
As Mystic Sanctuary, I think.
Sanctuary. That would
It's got
probably
3
work
islands,
if there was
but
more time.
There was more time, yeah. But there's one unknown card in his hand.
There's the
sets
handshake.
hand.
It was also like Uro was close to coming out there as well. Oh, 2 more lands left in the deck. All right, well, let's bring it back into the booth here. That's the end of the Swiss rounds. So, big thanks to everyone who's hung out with us, whether you're on the Discord, whether you're watching this through YouTube later. It's been lovely to cast this event. We'll be back tomorrow with more Modern, but also we'll be back very shortly with the standings and the top 8. See who's playing off for an Underground Sea. Gene, thank you for joining me. Condolences on your finish for today. But
it's nice to do a bit of commentary, do a bit of streaming.
That's it. Thanks, mate.